months ago, she was the star of this race at its inaugural running. 12 months later, this year, she returns as the Queen of Greyhound Racing out to defend her crown. The two Queens of Greyhound Racing. She's a pearl, one length to Wow She's Fast. Wow She's Fast got up on the rail. Amron Boy storms, but the Queen did it. Wow She's Fast has won it.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Phoenix Flight Path, episode 5. We're drawing so much closer, a week closer to be precise, toward the running of the 2023 Phoenix at the Meadows, the Sportsbet Phoenix. And I tell you what, things are starting to amp up left, right and centre. We've got a massive, massive show. We're going to take a bit of a deep dive into the Melbourne Cup and the Bold Trease. We're going to find the winners of those. We're going to discuss the flame race in Queensland, obviously being a ticket through to the Phoenix. We'll also be joined by Andrew Bensley from RSN after some big news released this week, and Jackie Greenough, the co-trainer of Big Energy, as he heads toward the Melbourne Cup. And it looks like he might be heading toward the Phoenix as well. As I welcome Smithy to the podcast. Smithy, how about that? Big Energy. The word is he's been locked away for some time. It makes sense why no one bloody picked him.
Well, I have had that bullet in the chamber for about 10 days or so. I know RSN and the Greenoughs have done the deal, and I was really tempted, Jim. I was tempted to break the news, but I thought I'd be a good bloke, and it made sense. It made sense that Big Energy had been signed up. I guess everyone was probably thinking that maybe it'd be Sportsbet. The Wow She's Fast news would probably be dependent on the Big Energy sort of news, but aligning with RSN, I think, is a good decision to make. And with Big Energy locked into the field, I don't think you can really be too upset or too excited or really have too many emotions about it, because it is the informed dog in Australia at the moment.
Well, what this tells me, Smithy, is we can no longer, or we probably can no longer trust you, but we can also read into your power rankings a little bit more, because you're getting inside info that you're not releasing. But, mate, I'll tell you what, do you want to try and pick my location at the moment for those who are viewing via YouTube?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on down there. It's been a while since I've been out to Hillsville, so I didn't realise that there was a beach and a palm tree and all that sort of fun stuff going on. It must be technical difficulties, Jim, because there's no way that you know how to do that.
You are right, mate. As you would know, when I first logged into Zoom on the computer that I take, what do they call it? A MacBook Pro that you sort of wander around, like you're not your desktop computer, just your little, what do they call it? Laptop is the word I'm trying to get to. I whipped out the laptop to try and record this one, Smithy. There was a big background full of racing dogs, and I thought, I don't even know how to get rid of this. And I've ended up with this one with a palm tree. And to be fair, I wish I was where I am with this background, sitting on the beach somewhere, sipping a few cocktails. That's not the case. I'm at the sail. It's been pissing rain all afternoon, absolutely teeming down. I'm too worried to go outside because I'll get the hair wet.
Run of the day.
Well, run of the week, run of the day. I've gone for a greyhound in a Melbourne Cup heat, Smithy, that didn't even make it into the Melbourne Cup. Any guess who that might be?
I reckon it might have come in the last race, Jim. One of the biggest runs that we've seen. There's been plenty of chatter about it on social media during the week. So I reckon you might have stuck with Hector.
I reckon almost the biggest run I've ever seen, to be honest, Hector Fawley. He was absolutely extraordinary. I was standing beside Mitchie Bayer. I had a sneaky little responsible wager on him, and we were hugging and high-fiving after the race because I'd finally got a nice price winner for the heats of the Melbourne Cup. But he didn't get that verdict. He didn't make it through to a Melbourne Cup. But here's how he was beaten. And you can just see the surprise in Daniel Hibbard's voice that he even got as close as he did.
Racing, Magic Muffin jumped well. There was speed from Exalted. And have a look at Landon Bale go forward. And now Max Damage is driving through. They hit the first turn. Max Damage the leader. Magic Muffin second. Railing through was Exalted. Going deep was Landon Bale. Pushing on was Awesome Avenger. Then came Transponder. And running on strongly was Hector Fawley. And the other two dropped away off the back. It's Max Damage in front. On the outside was Landon Bale. And here comes Exalted in the straight. It's Magic Muffin up after Max Damage. Hector Fawley flies. Wow, what a finish. I think Max Damage, but Hector's flown. Hector has flown.
And there he is. Like he just should have been in the Melbourne Cup. Maybe it's a blessing that he didn't make the Melbourne Cup, and now he can really focus, I think, on the Sale Cup. Although, to be fair, Smithy, I reckon there are a few punters out there thinking he could still be a genuine contender for the Phoenix.
Yeah, I think so. I know our man Dan Hibbert has a massive soft spot for Hector, and he's been saying that Dinner Phoenix, he'd be right up to them. And on that run, I know the time wasn't there, and he found a lot of trouble, and he'd probably do that in Phoenix as well. But the engine's there, and a lot of the time, a lot of Phoenix slot holders are looking for those dogs with early speed. But maybe, just maybe, a dog that gets back in the field and can pick their way through could be a nice little fit.
Big race preview.
Well, big race preview time, Smithy, and we're going to take a look in depth at the Melbourne Cup. We're going to give tips for the Bold Trees. There are so many good support races on Saturday, but I thought we'd just focus on the big two, starting with the Sportsbet Melbourne Cup. It's an interesting field. It's probably not the greatest field depth-wise in the Melbourne Cup, but it's just got so much intrigue. It comes up as race number 10 at 9:49, starting with greyhound number 1. Buddy Manelli, now trained by Lynn Smith at Nambrock, was a victor from this draw in his heat. And I think, to be fair, Smithy, if he's going to win a Melbourne Cup, he had to have drawn box number 1, which he has.
Yeah, he has. We've seen him up over 600, and that gave him the confidence to drop back here. He comes up with the draw that he won in the heat. He's going to have to put together an absolute career best to be winning a Melbourne Cup, but he's got the right draw to do it.
Babs Vegetable comes up with box number 2. Now, this was a massive surprise, I think, in the heats. Got back and just stormed home. He got to the right place at the right time. And to be honest, I was so surprised to see the response of co-trainer Andrea Daly post-race. She never gives away much. She's a very quiet, reserved lady. And she just cut loose on the emotion front with this greyhound Fab's Vegetable. And I honestly thought it was beautiful to see, because we all know they're a massive training operation. They're almost the Chris Waller of greyhound racing in that sense, with greyhounds all over the place. But credit to them. And it was beautiful to see how much this meant to Andrea.
Yeah, I've made it no secret that my favourite thing to do in greyhound racing, admin, media, everything, is interviewing the trainers after they get nice and emotional like that. And as he said, I wasn't expecting Andrea to react like that. I also wasn't expecting Fab's Vegetable to win. So I was a bit on the back foot, but it's always special to see those big operations, and when their favourites get through to the big races, it means a hell of a lot. And he might need a few things to go his way, but at least we got that moment.
He's in there, that's for sure. Beautifully done too, the interviews the other night, I must say, Smithy. Max Damage number 3, trained by the Whelans of Meetung. I think that in itself is an extraordinary story. They live about 3.5 hours from the Melbourne Metro tracks. Their nearest track from their place is about 1.25 hours, and yet they've got superstar greyhounds in their kennel. Lakeview Walter was the standout a couple of years ago, and now they're a Melbourne Cup finalist with Max Damage. Look, he beat Hector Fawley. He's earned his position in the race, and he's probably going in maybe a little bit underrated, but I get the feeling he's going to make the race for the greyhound drawn on his immediate outside. He's got pace, Max Damage. He will look for the fence. And I just don't think he can run the times. No disrespect to him, but of a Big Energy or a Tim Zoo or a couple of others in this race.
Obviously, the Wheeling camp probably goes under the radar a little bit. They don't have a huge team, and as he said, they base themselves out at Meetung. So to get another runner into a Melbourne Cup, as he's touched on there with Lakeview Walter, they've been a really good camp over quite a few years now, and Max Damage, it's no surprise to see them with a Melbourne Cup runner, but probably is a little bit of a surprise to see this boy get himself into a Melbourne Cup final. But he's come up with the right draw, and he was tough in his heat win, so you can't rule him out.
Big Energy, where do we start? Where do we end? We will be chatting with Andrew Bensley from RSN 927. We'll be chatting with Jackie Greenough in just a moment. I don't know what to say. He is a greyhound that is 100% in the zone. He is jet propelled. He's broken 29 seconds on 3 different occasions at Sandown Park. I almost feel like he's underrated, to be honest. I feel like he has probably showed his true class in his last 2 runs, and people are now starting to take note. But this could be sort of a once in a 10-year type of greyhound Big Energy. What he's doing at the moment, it's Aston Rupee like.
There's never been a query on how fast Big Energy can run, but there's always been the query, and I think this is internal inside the camp as well. I've heard Cal say multiple times that he's a 28, 29 kilo dog and probably doesn't handle the bumps all that well, and that's always been the knock on him, as if he doesn't nail the start, and if he doesn't run that 5-second sectional to the first peg, he can be a little bit kind of shot out the back, and he might not be able to get through his races as well as he can and show his true talent. But his last 2 runs have been absolutely enormous. The confidence is through the roof, and he's the most informed dog in Australia.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Confidence is huge, and the way he's gone in his last two, I think he carts across with max damage at the start, and I think he'll be very, very hard to beat. Aussie Rocks number 5. It was great to see as well Jeff Mitchell post-race. You could tell how much this meant to him getting through to a Melbourne Cup, and he sort of gave that indication post-race in the interview that this is the reason why you get up in the morning and train dogs, to try and do what he did last week, making a Melbourne Cup. And I tell you what, he's going to be a rough price. He's going to be double figures and maybe a little bit more, but he can run one hell of a race. He's proven himself against this type of field, and if something doesn't go 100% right with Big Energy, well, I wouldn't be surprised if he's up there early.
I think the one knock on him going into the Melbourne Cup series was his Sandown form. His Sandown form didn't mirror his Meadows form, where he just seems to love the track and run massive races. He's a Group 1 runner-up. He's full of class, full of talent. He can run decent time. He can go quick early. He can come from off the speed. He's nice and versatile, but he's going to have to be from box number 5 in a Melbourne Cup.
6, Idolised. Great story with her, becoming a mum, going back to racing, and now making it to the pinnacle of the sport, effectively, the Melbourne Cup. She's just so reliable. Whether or not she's got it in her old weary legs to run the times of a few of these, I'm not too sure. But what she does have is crack, reliable, early speed, and she'll put herself into the action in the run of the first corner at least.
I just absolutely love her, to be honest, Jim. Through my pocket, through just watching her, whatever it is, that she just ticks so many boxes. She's so tough. She's so reliable early. The story coming back from a litter of pups, it's just phenomenal. And I really do have a soft spot for her. And the Prosciutto camp are nice and excited to be in a Melbourne Cup. If she leads, then she's a chance. If she doesn't lead, then she's going to find it tough. But who knows? She could lead this.
Tell you what, if you take away Big Energy, Tim Zoo's then the standout, I think, from the Cup heats. Went 29.07 last week, won by 11 lengths, handled an awkward draw, went fast to the mark, and maybe delivered, I guess, to expectation, because the raps on this boy have been huge from day dot. I think he's drawn okay in 7. I honestly do. I think Idolise is going to begin fast, could cart him across. If Big Energy doesn't jump, he is one of the really, really big chances in this year's Melbourne Cup, Tim Zoo.
If he had a drawn inside, I'd be really, really keen. But being box number 7, I see your point. I see where you think that he can get across and find his way from his inside. But Make No Promise does like to go hard left, and we'll talk about him in a second. But Tim Zoo, for me, if he avoids the 8, he'll be finishing top 3. If he gets kind of cramped up and touched by the 8, he might be really difficult in his chances probably are just in the bin, to be perfectly honest. But if he can avoid Make No Promise, he's a definite top 2 chance, if not winning chance.
I reckon he can get out in front of Make No Promise. That's the key for Tim Zoo. He must come off the mat quick. Make No Promise, box 8. The draw makes it hard. The kennel, the Bartolos, they've done so well in a Melbourne Cup, as we know, with a Quinella about 15 years ago. But it's going to be tough for Make No Promise to win from box 8.
Yeah, box 8. I think it just crucified his chances. I think if this dog can manage to find himself in a good spot going into that first bend, then he's a massive winning chance. But I just can't see where he gets to outside of Idolise, Aussie Rocks, Tim Zoo. It's a tough draw, but he's got to be in it to win it.
All right, reserves, Dundee, Rebel, Navarino. Let's get your selections out, Smithy. Of course, gamble responsibly. Chances are you're going to lose. 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Like how I do that before I'm giving your tip, Smithy?
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable to do, Jim. That would be responsible from a gambling front, is to give that before my tips. But I've got Big Energy on top. I don't think there's any surprise there. He's the most informed dog, as we said, probably in Australia at the moment. The draw's not too bad, I don't think, from box number 4, the more I go into it. I've chucked in Tim Zoo, Buddy Manali and Idolise to round out my numbers. But to be honest, it's Big Energy's race to lose from the draw, because quite a few of the main chances are drawn a little bit sticky.
Yeah, I like him too. I'm 4 on top ahead of 7, 1 and 5. I just think it's his race to lose, as you said. I couldn't agree any more with Big Energy. And I think if he does everything right at box rise, he's just too fast for them. And the only way I can see Tim Zoo winning, if Big Energy does something wrong or he finds trouble in the way to the first corner. Because if you don't cross Big Energy, you will not run him down. It's as simple as that. 4, 7, 1, 5, my numbers. The other Group 1 on Saturday night, the Sportsbet Bold Trease final. 1 Zohar Bale, 2 Valpolicella, 3 Untapped, 4 Moraine Susie, 5 Get Ready Dora for the Nolans, who own Idolise. They've got a runner in each of the Group 1s. Mrs. Avenger, who bobbed up last week. Palawa King 7, who didn't bob up last week as an odds-on favourite. Ritza Piper 8, reserves Savage and Big Susie. I'm going to put my hand up and give a tip for this. I'm going to go, if Savage gets a start, he will run a massive, massive race. He'll be 100 to 1, but I think he can run well. I don't think he'll get a start, however, and I'm with Valpolicella, number 2, the Queenslander. I was taken by that first up Sandown run, and in a race where there's not a hectic amount of speed, I think she's going to cross Zohar Bale early. She's first onto the rail. She can let Untap go with maybe a get-ready Dora. And I think mid-race she'll make her move, and I think she can win Valpolicella. She's drawn to run a big race.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jim. So I apologise to you. I apologise to Tony Zammit, but this is the perfect draw. You could not ask for a better draw for Valpolicella. You got Untapped on her outside, who likes to begin and use a fair bit of the track. You got Zohar Bale, who's not quick early at all. I think she gets to the rail. She jumped amazingly, to be honest. Probably the best that she's jumped in a distance race in her career so far. She's untapped with her ability. I think she's got a huge motor, and if she can get herself into that top 3 going into the first bend, she's the one to beat. Palawa King's the forgotten runner, though. Box number 7, I don't think the box straws really matter too much for him. He's just got to jump better. He hasn't been jumping at Sandown Park. It's as simple as that. If he jumps with them, he's arguably the best dog in the race, and he's going to be hard to beat. So, yeah, my numbers are Valpolicella from Palawa King and Moraine Susie, who was enormous again.
Yeah, similar numbers. I'm 2, 4, 1, and 7 in the Bold Trease. Let's turn our attention now to power rankings for the Phoenix, and things are changing. Big Energy's been locked away. Melbourne Cup heats have been run and won last week. Smithy, take it away with your top 8 seedings for this year's Phoenix.
I've put Big Energy straight to number 1. I know that there's 4 dogs locked in, but I just wanted to make a point that Big Energy is number 1 at the moment. Postman Pat, Alpha Zulu, Scalacci are, of course, the other 3 that are locked in. Jay's Jay, who comes up in a Queensland Flame with box number 2 with a dog that's a railer and really quick early in box number 1. I think he gets the perfect run into the race. Transponder is in there, and I think he's got to stay in there. The way that the box draw is done, where it's a picker box, Transponder is just, to me, I know he didn't go all that well in his heat, but I just think with the way the draw's done, he has to be in there. Wow, she's fast, who will be trialling tomorrow afternoon to decide her fate. She's staying in there just mainly because I know that if she trials well, that I would anticipate Sportsbet taking her for a 3-peat or a crack at a 3-peat. And then Tim Zoo takes my final spot at the moment. It was Tim Zoo / Morton. I had to make a decision. I went with Tim Zoo just because he managed to win that Melbourne Cup heat. But I actually thought Morton's run was full of merit as well. So I reckon those 2 are the ones that are vying for that final spot. But Tim Zoo just for me.
I like what you've done there. I really do. And I'm in 100% agreement. And I love how much things have changed week to week. And I think this podcast can maybe be an education for slot holders moving forward, that sometimes it pays just to sit on your hands for a little bit longer and just see what transpires, because you've seen in just the 5 episodes to date, Smithy, how much things have gone up and down before I give mine. Like it's amazing how often we've put dogs in and then taken them back out and replaced them with something else.
Yeah, exactly right. And each and every year, I know this is only the 3rd year, but each year there's been different tactics. There's been slot holders that have signed up a trainer. There's been slot holders that have gone for a dog that's unproven. There's been slot holders that have waited right to the last minute. And there's no right or wrong sort of answer. There's no kind of black and white sort of print that you can follow. But I just think every slot holder has different ideas. You and I have different ideas and different plans as well. So that's half of what makes the Phoenix such an exciting race.
My power rankings, number 1, Big Energy. I'm in agreement. I've been saying for a long time, I don't know why he hasn't been picked. And then we will find out that he had been picked for some time. But that's the only reason he hasn't been my number 1. 2, I've still got as Postman Pat. I think he's the second best of the picked seeds so far. Scalacci, Alpha Zulu, 3 and 4. I've gone J is J up to 5. I think the Queensland Flame race, which we'll touch on in just a moment, probably sees him qualify that way, which is surprising. He's had to go back home to get a run in the race. I've put Tim Zoo in at number 6, elevates up the list. I just thought he stood up when he had to at Sandown Park last week. Wow, She's Fast comes into my power rankings now into 7th position, and that's because of what we've heard with Sportsbet saying that she's the rumours are that she trials well. She's more than most likely going to be locked away by Sportsbet. I think they're just chasing the glory of a 3-peat, and to be honest, they're taking the piss. If she is to win, like I hope it happens. I think it'll be amazing. Morton sticks in at number 8 because I think he is clearly a better Meadows dog, and I wouldn't be surprised if Team Sharp just head back there maybe for a trial or a race in the next week or so, just to say, look how quick this boy goes at the Meadows. Someone ought to pick him. And we spoke to Team Sharp last week on the podcast. So it's Big Energy, Postman Pat, Scalacci, Alpha Zulu, J is J, Timmy Zoo, wow, she's fast, and Morton. But yeah, I love how much things have been changing in the last week or so.
Yeah, it's changing week by week. I know we started probably with the dog like Past the Buck, was in my initial power rankings, and he hasn't raced since the start of that, but he's in a race at Bendigo over the 425 on Friday. So who knows, if he comes out and runs a track record, he might come back into reckoning. So it just changes week by week, and it makes it nice and exciting.
We did mention too that J is J goes around in the Flame race. What do you make of the Flame this year? I thought it was funny because the 2 greyhounds that I've sort of been picking that would end up in that series, and they either one of them would already be selected or one of them would win that. They've drawn side by side, perfectly boxed. I just think J is J. Again, gamble responsibly, but I think that's his Flame to lose. Box number 1, Bears Bullet, goes out fast, leads. J is J, tucks in, down the back, makes his move, and you can almost envisage the way the race is going to be ran before it's even ran.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's plenty of people that are looking at it the same way, but he's $1.70 out to $2.40 with Sportsbet, which
really?
I can't really understand, to be honest, Jay. Yeah, he's on the drift. Magistrate's been back from 9s into 6s, which I can understand. He's a very good dog that doesn't often miss a top 2, but yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that. There's been some big moves. Jen's Joy is $67 into $12 from box number 4 for Jamie Hosking. It's a cracking race. This is arguably the best edition of the Queensland Flame that we've seen in the 3 years that it has been running. And J's J comes up with the perfect draw. Bears Bullet comes up with the perfect draw. Magistrate can probably overcome box 6. It's going to be a ripper. I'm actually going to be heading up there, Jim. So my background might look a little bit like yours. And I'll be taking the Phoenix Trophy up there, of course. I'm heading up there for work purposes. But I think J's J will get the chocolates and he'll come down and represent Queensland in the Phoenix for 2023.
You're a real dodgy bugger, you are, Smithy. You'll go for the one race meeting, you'll cart the Phoenix Trophy around, but you'll spend about 15 days on the beach. You're a dodgy bugger. I know how you roll. We are going to pose a question, and it's quite simple. Who is going to win the Melbourne Cup that will then go on to win the Phoenix? I reckon the greyhound that wins the Melbourne Cup this year, aka also known as Big Energy, could do the double. Yeah, I think he's going to do the double.
Making a nice and big call, Jim. I like that.
Yeah, well, Hector Foley to win the Sale Cup. We all saw what happened there. It was $5. I jumped off air, went to responsibly go to the bank to grab some cash on the way home from Sandown. But before I could even leave the joint, I set it on racing.com and $5 into $4.40. The punters beat me to it. But that's the joys of the great game. But, mate, exciting times with everything that's happening this weekend. Obviously, the Melbourne Cup, the Bold Trees, but it's all about the countdown now to the Phoenix. We're only a couple of weeks away. A few more episodes, Smithy. I'm looking forward to seeing how the next couple of weeks transpires. And if Big Energy comes out, wins the Melbourne Cup and goes 28.80, he might just about be even money to win the Phoenix.
I reckon he might even be shorter than that if he goes 28.80. Jim, he's a star greyhound in some serious form.
Inside info.
Well, a little bit of a different inside info look segment as we count down to the Phoenix. And just hot off the press, a slot holder has locked away one of, I think, the key players in the Phoenix for 2023. I speak of Big Energy, RSN 927, the slot holder that have locked him in. And to chat everything Big Energy, to chat everything RSN 927, who else would we want to talk to but the great man Andrew Bensley, who's on the line ready for a chat. How are you, Benz?
Very well, James. I'm energised for the Phoenix. We can't wait to get there on December 16.
I tell you what, Benz, I've been sitting there scratching my head over the last month or so thinking, how the bloody hell has somebody not picked this greyhound for the Phoenix? And then I find out RSN had locked him away some time ago.
Yeah, look, we obviously had a chat about, to be 6 weeks ago now, just about the who was around, because I think it'd be fair to say, James, and you know this better than me, but it's a very even year, unless we find a Big Energy that jumps out of the ground like he's done in his last 2 runs. That who do we look at? And I've been trying to get he's fast, particularly last year, but we know that greyhound's been locked away to win those first 2 runnings. So I'd been having, just rough little chats to Kel Greenough about the possibilities, and suddenly Big Energy, we thought, was just starting to show signs that there could be something around the corner. So we locked a deal away about 3 to 4 weeks ago now, and watching his last 2 runs, James, there's a couple of real Toei RSN people now that are just hoping that he can maintain it over the next couple of runs.
Don't you worry, Benz. I'm on that ship as well, sailing. We're backing RSN 927 in 100%. I just wanted to touch on, I guess, the fact that you had McInerney last year for RSN 927. As a company, do you live and learn from the way that dealings were done last year? And I suppose potentially RSN have been a little bit more on the front foot with this move with Big Energy this year?
Yeah, look, I think that we've seriously been looking around and seeing who was available, and there were greyhounds that we probably would have looked at, like every slot owner. Postman Pat went very early. There was a couple of others that had obviously done deals. So we sat there for a little while, but jokes aside, we are energised because he is a greyhound that obviously is making big steps off his last couple of runs. The way that he's been able to use that box speed that he's got, if he can draw the right box, and I can't be doing the box draw for the Phoenix, James. It'd be too nerve-wracking because greyhound racing can change so quickly with a box draw. So we're mindful, we're excited, but we're also mindful that drawing a red in a Phoenix would be so positive for the greyhound rather than drawing out in the pink. So, we're excited. We want to be a part of the race because our listeners around Victoria, a large majority of those are greyhound followers, and we want to be with them and we want them to come with us. Last year we learned a great deal in the way that we promoted McInerney with Brendan Purcell and the Muggovan family down there at Warrnambool. We learned a lot out of that, but I think by the time we got to the Phoenix, everyone that listened to RSN knew that the race was on. They knew our greyhound, and that's really what we want to do over the next couple of weeks with Big Energy.
I think it goes back right, mate, to the start, the ongoing support of greyhound racing that RSN 927 have shown, and this is just a wonderful way, I suppose, to show that support through the Phoenix.
It is. Like in the recent 6 to 12 months, we've re-energised our audience at night, hopefully, with what we're trying to achieve with form analysts and things like that. So we're hoping with our audience that we want them to come to the Meadows and be a part of it on that night. It's all right to be broadcasting it and doing everything else around it, but we want our loyal family of listeners to come to the night, be a part of it, stand near the greyhound when it's walking around pre-race and feel everything around the race, because Greyhound Racing Victoria has put a lot of energy into it, along with Melbourne Greyhounds, that we want it to be a worldwide race. And if we can help create the interest in the race like a brand of RSN, well, we're all for it.
Well, there's no doubt, mate, the brand of RSN itself is changing. It's got the big energy. I think he's a phenomenal fit for RSN going into this 2023 Phoenix. We appreciate everything you do and RSN 927 do for Greyhound Racing, mate, and just such an exciting time counting down to this Phoenix. And the one thing I want, Benz, is a seat at the table on Phoenix night. I want to be a part of it.
No, well, look, we've got a little marquee there that will have plenty of people in, and as I said to Kel Greenough in the last few days, we want the Greyhounders to hopefully win for them on Saturday night, the Melbourne Cup, but all eyes for us are well and truly there on December 16. So there'll be a few sleepless nights making sure that the dog's sleeping well and doing everything, but we can't wait for the night of the Phoenix.
Good on you, Benz. All the best, mate.
Thanks, James.
Inside Info.
Well, the second part of Inside Info is with trainer of Big Energy, Jackie Greenough. And I tell you what, there's plenty going on with this greyhound, plenty going on with this kennel at the moment we need to discuss, starting with Big Energy into the Melbourne Cup as I welcome you, Jackie. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, James.
Hey, talk to me, Jackie, about this greyhound Big Energy, because you've got another superstar in the kennel. Wow, She's Fast has been the headline act for so long, and you just get the feeling Big Energy's just crawling out of her shadow at the moment.
Yeah, you're not wrong. No, he's actually doing everything right at the moment. It's taken him a little while, but finally he's doing the right thing and coming out of the boxes and not getting hit.
He's always shown enormous ability. I know from day dot when you first started training him, he was really starting to put some quick times together, and we saw that, I think, with one of his first wins for you guys where he broke the 29 seconds at Sandown Park. But he just appears more of a complete race dog now.
Yeah, I think he has. And as Calvin said before, I think it was he took 4 trips to Adelaide and then he's come back and he's actually grown up, because he wasn't like a young puppy. He was a beautiful, happy little boy, but now he's getting serious.
He's turning into a more serious old man like the co-trainer, Cal Greenough. Would that be fair to say?
Yep, that's very fair to say.
Hey, talk to me about this Melbourne Cup and the lead up to the Melbourne Cup. He has been absolutely airborne. I know that Cal listens to this particular show because he said he agreed with me that I thought he may well have been the run of the Top Gun, even though he finished a mile back. He really hasn't set a paw out of place, and you must be pleased with the way he's just progressed, and this obviously being, I guess, the main race that you've picked out for in the Melbourne Cup.
Definitely the main race that Calvin wants to win, for sure. He's wanted to win it for a very long time. So fingers crossed he's got the right dog to do it this time, and everything goes according to plan. But no, we're very, very happy with the way he's going.
The lead-up's been perfect. The shootout win was phenomenal. What do you make of box number 4 now that he just has to do exactly what he's done for the last fortnight, a little bit wider off the rail?
That's it, and I think 1 to 4, I think we were happy with, and I think the way the boxes have drawn, I think he's going to be okay.
I did hear a little rumour, Jackie, that you weren't too happy when Cal went up there and selected box number 4, and you thought the Cup trophy at the end was the one to go with. How did that turn out for you?
Yes, well, I only watched that on replay, and I said I would have picked that one there, and then that was box 7, so I said I'm glad I do it.
I was just happy to see Cal's done something right. Hey, talk to me about the Phoenix as well. Obviously, huge news. We just spoke with Andrew Bensley, who is so chuffed to be teaming up with you for the Phoenix with Big Energy. Talk to me about that process. I know you've been there, fair to say, and done it once or twice, but with a different greyhound leading in, it must be exciting.
Yeah, it is. Every time you go in the Phoenix, and I know this is only the 3rd time, but it's unbelievable, the amount of press and everything that it gets, and the excitement that RSN have got, because they've got Big Energy now, and he's just, because they picked him out maybe a month ago, and we said, yep, that's fine, he'll go with you, and when they announced it, and it's almost like we've just jumped on him because he's been doing this, but they picked him out, like, as I said, about at least 4 weeks ago.
I was sitting there just wondering why nobody had picked him, to be honest, and then I now find out that he was fairly well picked for some time, that's for sure. But the other I think talking point from your perspective and your kennel would be, wow, she's fast, and the rumours are that Sportsbet are keen to try and do a 3-peat, which is extraordinary, but she's set to trial at Sandown Park on Thursday. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, she was going to trial Friday, and then because there's no trials Friday, Sandown have graciously let us trial after the last on Thursday, and it's actually going to be televised on Sky 2, believe it or not, and it's only a trial. And depending how she goes, we'll make the decision whether she will go forward with her or whether we'll retire her.
I think that is such a good point you make, that the fact that this trial is going to be televised purely based on the fact she is heading toward the Phoenix, and she is already the 2-time winner of the Phoenix. I think what the Meadows have been able to do with this particular race, Jackie, and I'm sure you'll agree, especially with $2 million in the bank after winning 2 of them, but it's been something that's really, I think, captured the public's attention, and we see that with the way they're wanting to showcase just a trial leading up to the Phoenix.
Exactly, and I mean, it's absolutely, people need to get out there and actually see the race and what happens out at the Meadows when the race is on. It's unbelievable. It's almost like a football match.
Do you dare to dream that you can do it again? I called the last Phoenix, Jack, and I'll be honest, it was the scariest race I've ever been a part of as a caller. I couldn't hear a thing. The Sportsbet crew were going absolutely bananas. Do you dare to dream that you could experience that again, and especially, I suppose, with now the potential of doing it with RSN?
You've got to keep dreaming. That's why we're doing this. You've got to dream big, James. So, yes, I dare to dream.
Well, I'm going to ask a question then, because I'm daring to dream. I want to be like Cal and Jackie Greenough one day, heading toward a Phoenix as a greyhound trainer. What do you reckon the key to training success is? I'm not sure if anyone's ever asked you that. Is there something that you sort of pinpoint that if you continuously do something, you're bound to have more success?
Well, I think it's making sure your dog is sound and having, placing your dog where you think it should be. Like, there's many times we haven't entered in races because we don't think the dog's good enough. So, you enter your dog where it's suited the best, and you make sure it's sound, healthy and fit. So, that's basically all you can do.
I like that. As I let you go, Jackie, you do like to get away on holidays time to time, and my spies tell me that you'll often run into people from Victoria over in Hawaii. Are there any holidays planned post the Phoenix?
Yeah, post the Phoenix, we're going to the Super Bowl in Vegas. So
you beauty.
We've got our seats, we've got everything. We don't care who's playing, preferably the Chiefs, but anyway, we're going.
No, I love that, Jackie. Hey, we really appreciate your time. You're always so kind with your time, and good luck with the Melbourne Cup firstly. Good luck with the Phoenix. It's just such an exciting time of year to be talking greyhound racing and heading toward those big races. We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, James.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.